Hello, I am the disco and you are the cosmic. Or are you the disco? Am I the cosmic? Still yet to be determined. Anyway, it's great to be back. Saturn has gone direct. As we all know, Cap Rising, I'm going direct too. So I have done a lot of thinking about what I want to do with this channel and with the disco. And I've also been learning a lot of really wonderful astrology from new people. Michelle's Midheaven, 11th House Devotional. There's been a lot of people that I'm like, oh yes, we're all talking about the same stuff. And we're talking about the complexity and the beauty of going beyond just your sun sign, of looking at your chart as a whole, as looking at astrology as not just a way to personally navigate your life because you're a Pisces or you're a Libra or you're an Aquarius or whatever, but an overall magical and intuitive and symbolic and beautiful system that if you choose to, you can participate in. So I'm back. The disco's back. Got my disco ball. And so I decided I'm going to keep my videos from now on very focused because there is so much information out there. You want to know about transits, you want to know about the joys of the houses, there's so much to learn. So I have decided to really focus on how I am experiencing and participating in astrology. Again, I don't claim to be a teacher. I don't claim to, I'm a beginner, I'm a novice, and I have found through my studies that the best way for me to get to know the planets, to understand my participation in this cosmic wonderland, is to talk about how I feel. So I'm going to keep this disco and the discos from now on very focused. They're going to be very focused, and I'm also going to focus on archetypes. I mean, let's be real. I'm going to do whatever I want, okay? But I will have themes and I will have focuses. And I'm really thinking about archetypes right now. And we recently had a very large loss to the disability justice and disability rights community. Her name was Alice Wong, rest in power. She is an ancestor. She died earlier this year. She is the author of books like Disability Visibility. She did the Disability Visibility Project, which is one of the reasons I'm here, is because of Alice Wong. Because how do we get society to understand who we are as disabled people when we're shoved away, out of community, in institutions? We're not dealt with, we're not seen, we're not allowed to be seen. And you can go look up, disabled history. That's not my job to fill you in, but it's there, and it's especially in the USA. And Alice Wong, in her life, she really dedicated herself to the servitude of disabled people, other people like her, people who are chronically ill, and healthcare in general. She is the one who started the hashtag Crypt the Vote, which was a nonpartisan attempt to get more people involved in voting around issues that affect healthcare and that keep us alive. I'm going to read you, just to start off with, the opening statement from Alice Wong, just to get us in the right vibe, right? Let's disco, right? Let's get Alice. We welcome whatever parts of Alice Wong want to join us here. We are honored to be doing a disco about a disabled ancestor, and it does. This means a lot to me, and I'm going to try to get through it without crying. I cried a lot when she passed, because she changed my life. Her and Mia Mingus and Imani Barbin are the three I can say that I first started to change my identity and my idea about being disabled and about showing up disabled and about showing up as who I am and having value outside of all the messages that our society consistently tells us. They were the first three. So Alice Wong's passing had a huge impact on me. And so I'm just going to read. This is the power, because what I'm going to talk about today is Mars going into Capricorn. Okay. Mars is exalted in Capricorn. I'm a Cap rising. There is so much to talk about with Mars being exalted in Capricorn, also going through a combustion and Cazimi through the sun. And I am going to turn that archetype to fit Alice Wong as an ancestor, as an archetype, and as a idea, spirit, and human to strive for us to all learn from and strive for. So I'm inviting Alice into the disco. Whether she wants to come is up to her, but we're celebrating her spirit today. So this is just right. Visibility it's a compilation of essays written by all sorts of different disabled people and their experiences in being disabled. It's a wonderful book. And again, I have all sorts of resources on my WordPress. I'm not going to go into disability history right now. I will recommend this Bethany, and I'll put her in the comments if you are interested in knowing more about disabled life, culture, questions, anything. She is doing a great speaking series right now. Again, I'll put it in the comments. But right now, we're going to focus on Alice Wong, Mars going into Capricorn where it's exalted, and we are going to be in the essence of Alice Wong as represented by Mars in Capricorn exalted. And here's her power. To my younger self and all the disabled today, kids and adults who can't imagine their futures, the world is ours, and this is for all of us. So that's where we start. This is for all of us. And, I did look up her chart. We don't have her birth time. And so I, decided we're not going to focus on natal charts today. We're going to focus on this transit, this Mars going into Capricorn where it's exalted, because so many of the qualities of this transit fit what Alice Wong's life was dedicated to, what her legacy was dedicated to, who she was and what she did. I did watch, my teacher, Adam Ellen Voss earlier. Mars is still Marsy, right? So Mars, right? We're still going to separate, we're going to fight violence. We can't gloss over that, right? But when it's focused and when it's exalted and when it's in place like Capricorn, where there's a little bit of femininity, right? It's in its holding spot of femininity. It's in its chariot, and that Mars energy, yes, it will frick you up. It will funk you up. It will, it is Mars. It is the planet of war. However, in social justice and in humanity, when it is exalted, when it is focused, it is courage. It is magnificent valor, systemic change. It's also, Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. So Mars and Saturn, being... Not that Saturn's in Capricorn right now, but also, having that Saturnian energy boosting up this exalted Mars. This is the time to think about what Alice Wong did and how can we continue her legacy, because the things she did took courage. The things she said took courage. She didn't say the easy things. She said the things that people don't want to hear. We don't want to be inspirational disabled people. We want to be people. We want to be humans. And one of the things that really stood out, and again, this is Alice Wong quoting Mia Mingus. Disability justice is just another word for love. So is solidarity, access, and access intimacy. Our work for liberation is the deepest and most profound there is. The creation of this space is an act of love. Now, the reason that's important, the creation of the space, right? Mars can do a lot. Capricorn is where it's holding it. It's also where it's exalted. It's where that focused courage, that magnificent valor, that standing up to not only help yourself, but also for justice for all of us. Because truly, disabled rights is human rights. And, the more, again, Mars, the more they want to separate it, the more that we separate ourselves, the more that you don't see me, the more that I don't see other disabled people, the more that we are forgotten. Mars is saying, heck to the no. It's not what's going to happen. And as our archetype, Alice Wong also said, that's not what's going to happen. And, devoted her life to trying to get equal rights for people who are different, who are disabled. And that is love. And that is Mars exalted, right? So that's what I wanted to think about today. I wanted to think about, now that Mars is going into Capricorn and it's exalted and we have this focused power, what are we going to do with it? Do we have a plan? Do we have anything that we can do? Do we have a book we want to write? Do we want to start something that's going to be powerful, yet focused and effective? Not just Mars rolling around, being Mars. But how are we going to enact change in the way that Alice Wong did? Not that we can. No one can be Alice Wong, but using the archetype as a striving. We are participants right now. Mars is about to go into is in Capricorn. It's exalted there. How are you going to use that power? And it just went in 12/16. So that was a couple days ago. And we have a lot of stuff going on astrologically. And that's why I also think Alice Wong is so important to talk about, because we have Venus, Mars, and the Sun all are going to ramp through Capricorn. Mars is going to be combust in the Sun, but because it's in its chariot of Capricorn, it actually boosts that Sun energy a little bit, right? It boosts it. So again, we get this kind of extra boost, where usually a combustion is a very funked up place for a planet to be. For Mars exalted in Capricorn, it can give you the extra illumination, the extra strength, the extra power of life giving that gives this planet life. The extra power of life giving. How are you going to use it? How are you going to use it to serve yourself and serve your community? And, that was another thing. I mean, like I said, I didn't go through her chart we didn't have her birth time, so I didn't have her houses, which, as an aside, it can be sometimes fun to try and guess, what would Alice Wong's first house be? But I did notice that she has Venus in Aquarius, and her natal Venus in Aquarius, which speaks so much also to her archetype. Just if we take the whole chart, the whole pie, all the different energies working, not just in Alice Wong, but every person, including myself, that Alice Wong came in contact to, this is the majesty of astrology. Okay, so with that Venus in Aquarius, what is the helm of Aquarius? Community, getting systemic, revolution, making sure that our community is taken care of, community above all else. And then she's got Venus there, the love she had for her community. And Venus is not necessarily, it's not, necessarily in a great dignity in Aquarius, but in her chart, it stands out to me as something very, very important, and something that adds to her archetypal sense of, I love myself, I love this community, I want to express all of these ideas that I'm having so other people can love themselves, and other people can love their communities, other people can learn how to take care of each other, what interconnectedness is. So I just have a couple more quotes here, and then I'm going to wrap it up, because I really, like I said, I want to keep these short, and I want to, for this one in particular, I just want to point out an archetype. I want to point out an archetypal spirit, an archetypal essence, an archetypal energy that we can see through one of my disabled ancestors. And I do consider her an ancestor. In some circles, we do feel that anyone who is ill and has had, some of the same life experiences, which I didn't at all. I'm disabled in a completely different way than Alice Wong. I'm also not Asian. But we're both disabled, and I am a disabled elder at this point, pushing 50. So, a lot of her work changed my life. And so I want to really start bringing out these examples that are so poignant you can't even ignore them. Mars exalted in Capricorn, Alice Wong. Check her out. Learn. Read her books. She is extraordinary, powerhouse, gangbusters. And, aside from Mars exalted, we do have, this very intense Saturn square Venus. And I thought about this, Saturn square Venus a lot of time is how do we make the averse beautiful, right? Saturn square Venus. Something is, Saturn-y, I don't want to do it. It's hard. It's really hard. It's probably, it's not just a Mars, I have to have a surgery. It's tower moment or whatever you want to call it, or a big barrier, or, something that you just want to avoid. Also, that's a key thing of Saturn. A lot of people Never underestimate denial is what I always say. Squaring Venus, that is the message as a participant that I take from that aspect. How do we make the averse beautiful? How do we strive in order to open, like Mia Mingus said, open and create that space that is safe and full of love? So that's another thing that I would just like to add to this little disco is, I think that a lot of the Disability Visibility Project, a lot of the reason I'm up here, a lot of the reason I love to get dressed up, play with my disco ball, hang out in string lights, is because I don't get to go in many other places. And Alice Wong taught me that I deserve bliss and I deserve to be happy, and that my existence is revolution, and so is every other disabled person's in the society that we can currently live in. And so with that Saturn squaring Venus, that also reminds me of Alice Wong, because it's taking something that societally has been adverse: disability, sickness, being human. I mean, let's be real. We're all, right? It's all just look in time, trust me. Into something that is beautiful, Venusian, that's palatable, so that we can make it joyful and we can make it beautiful, and we can take the fear and we can take the barriers of Saturn down. So I just wanted to read one more quote from Alice Wong, because this also encapsulates, I talk about glamour magic, and no, I don't have to put on all these wigs and play with a disco ball and, put on all my glitter and whatnot, but I do believe in glamour magic, and I also believe in disability visibility, and maybe I just want to be more visible. So thinking about Saturn squaring Venus, turning the averse into Venusian, beautiful, connected. Saturn and Mars, what do they want to do? They want to disconnect. Venus wants to connect. So that square, it can be very important, and it can be juicy, and it can be tangible, and it can be gunky, and then beautiful. So let me just read you this quote. Art is supposed to make you feel something. I began to realize my appearance was my art. My body, my face, my scars told the story. Sometimes only noticing beauty, only in poetry and in silence. That's a very Saturn square Venus statement. I have tons of scars. I've had 18 million surgeries. I have less organs than anyone I know. And realizing that they are a part of me. They are a part of who I am as a human, as a participant in this grand, majestic portraiture, illustration, story, canvas, whatever you want to call it, that is the cosmos, and that helps us it helps me anyways, figure out my way in this chaos entropy planet. And and that's the thing for a lot of us who have grown up disabled or currently disabled, or I can speak for myself. I grew up disabled. Having these revolutions in thought, having these revolutions in value, having these revolutions in beauty from people like Alice Wong, who had the determination, Capricorn, the focus, Mars exalted, and the courage, Mars exalted, to change the world. And my favorite philosophy professor ever, was one of my favorite things that he ever said is, you change one person, you change the world. Alice Wong changed many people. I have no doubt about that. But I can say that she definitely changed this person. And I will leave you with one more quote, and then, because this, I think, also is, when we talk about Capricorn and being, Mars is exalted, yes, but we also have that Saturnian, boundary and all the complexity that goes into disability and into the ways that we have to learn to live, and how adaptation is survival, and how freaking creative we really are. It's still suffering. We still suffer. But so does everyone. That's life. And that's where Venus, right, let's close that. That's where Mars exalted. Let's close it. Mars wants to pull everything apart, make us different, separate us up, fight us each other. Mars exalted wants us to have the courage. I'm you, you're me. That's it. So this is the last quote I will read. I wish to be both myself and not myself, a state of paradoxical longing that I think every person with chronic pain, disability, or illness occupies at some point or another. I wish for a time to split and allow two paths for my life, and that I could move back and forth between them at will. And, you know, that goes into, I haven't been well enough to even do a disco in a few months. I am recovering. You know, nothing's getting better. It's the way of life. It is what life is. My life may be different than a lot of people's, but yeah, it's as much as I try to celebrate who I am, those feelings are still very real. The feelings of just wanting to be in a different body sometimes. And that's also totally okay. And it's totally Saturnian to have both those things be true, Mars exalted, and still show the frick up. Magnificent valor, courage. All right, that's all the disco's got for you today. It's my first time back. I will see you next week. And have whatever kind of week you want. It's new moon. We got tons going on. Right, new moon this weekend. Do whatever you do. The disco. Mwah.